make your blogs a little bit more entertaining, so people will actually read them. I'm Fiona, I'm the vegan marketing mentor, and I'm here to show you five quick ways of how you can make your blogs more entertaining. Number one, use an analogy. Analogies are a really simple way of explaining information that might otherwise be difficult to understand. So let's say you've got a really dry subject, like you're an accountant or a solicitor, or maybe even a funeral director, or you're writing blogs for science. You would want to be able to explain everything that's going on in as most entertaining way as possible, while also keeping your customer in mind. When you're using analogies, you're creating stories in their minds that are more relatable to them, so they're more likely to understand what you're saying and to really relate to it. Now, the key to creating really good analogies is to not make them too obvious. And by this I mean, if you're talking about doing something difficult, it's really easy to compare it to, say, training for a marathon or climbing a mountain. And the thing is, we hear these all the time, so they don't really sink in that well. Whereas if we would compare it to, say, learning a new language or learning how to drive, I mean, they're used quite a bit, but they're not overused to the point where you need to worry about it, being a cliche. Where possible, create an analogy that's meaningful to your customer and to you, and that you've probably not seen anywhere before. That's going to be the best way to make your blog more entertaining. Right, my next tip is to tell a story. When you tell a story, you don't need to tell all the details. You don't need to tell your personal story. No one needs to know what colour knickers you're wearing that morning. What you do need to do is tell a story that's really relatable to the point you're trying to get across. If there's an anecdote that's happened to you in your life, or someone you know, or a client you know, add that to the blog. If it's a client and they don't really want their story to be identified as them, use a fake name, change the gender, change the age, change the whole situation so no one recognises them. I sometimes do this on my blogs, and the clients that I'm talking about don't even know it's them. I change their details so much, but the actual details of the story are completely correct and the same, and illustrate the point in a really nice way. And we're human. We love stories. It's hardwired into our brains to respond to storytelling. So telling a story is one of the best ways to make your blog more entertaining. Okay, my third tip. If you want to make your blog more entertaining, add a bit of humour into it. Add some puns, add a little joke, a one-liner, and make the story or the anecdote you use really funny. Hire a writer that knows how to tell a joke and has a good sense of humour. Just bear in mind, your sense of humour needs to be in line with your customer's sense of humour. If you have a really dry and dark sense of humour and your customers do not, sometimes that doesn't always come through very well on blogs and written word, but also people might not have the same sense of humour as you. Now, making things funny and writing the comedy is really difficult. I want to own up that I'm not the expert in writing comedy, but there are still nice ways that you can bring a bit of humour into there, like adding a few puns into your content can make people smile, and you want to make people smile. It's the same with any kind of content, not just your blogs. If you make people smile, you've done a lot of the hard work of making them want to find out more about you. So another way to make your blog more entertaining is to really play around with the words you use and your tone of voice. Now, if you haven't got a tone of voice guide for your business yet, don't worry. Just start making notes of the way you say things. Do you contract words and use apostrophes? Do you use colloquialisms? As you can tell, I've got a Yorkshire accent, and so I sometimes bring in a few little bits of Yorkshire phrases into my work. I also bring in, behind me, music references into some of my work. And if you know them, you'll know them, but if not, it's not like you're left out of the joke. You just don't need to know the joke, and the whole thing still makes sense. So when you're doing this, you do need to be careful not to make people feel like they don't get it. You do need to make it natural, but using your own tone of voice and your own language and the way you speak, and sprinkling some of that, and sprinkling a brand voice throughout will be really helpful to making might be a normal, dry, straightforward blog that any AI tool could have written into something that's really unique for you and is more entertaining for your reader. Okay, and my fifth and final point of how to make your blog more entertaining is to say something that no one else is saying. Like, you're unique, you're a unique business owner, you have your own history, your own background, upbringing, experience, work experience. Bring stuff into it. It's really important that you do. So when I Googled this subject, I was met with a wall of blogs all saying the same thing, and that was that to make your blog more entertaining, you should break up the text with pictures. You should add a snazzy video in there. You should add some colour to it. But the thing is, if the copy itself is really dull, all these extra flourishes aren't actually going to make it more entertaining for the reader. It needs to be entertaining for the reader to find it entertaining. So if you Google something and you find that you're faced with a wall of blogs that are all saying the same thing, go through and see what you can say, what insights you can bring that's actually different to everything else that's out there. And then your blog will stand out and be way more entertaining than anything else. I hope these 5 points have really helped you with your work, with your blogging skills, and will help you write some really awesome, entertaining blogs. My name's Fiona. I've been the Vegan Marketing Mentor. You can do all the YouTubey stuff by hitting subscribe, up there's pointing at a button, hitting a bell, and you can find out more details on how I help vegan businesses and ethical businesses with their blogging skills on the link in the show notes. And it's been great, and I will see you next week.